Sabah everybody and welcome back. Today we're taking a look at the brand new Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G. Now, they added the plus to the title is because they decided to give us an even better Redmi Note 11. And what I mean by this, same form factor, nice beautiful 108 megapixel camera sensor, but we're talking about 120 Hz OLED panel or AMOLED panel, and we're also talking about 120 watts charging on this device. The Dimensity 920 will be powering this, giving us 4K recording on this device, which is definitely a very welcome addition to what we saw with the other Redmi Note 11s. Without further ado, this is TK and this is the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So here we have it, the brand new Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G. Now, just one thing to mention to you guys, this is definitely an upgrade from what we saw with the Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G. One thing to mention, this is running the Snapdragon 695, and here we have the Dimensity 920 that's going to be powering this entire device. It is 5G compatible, the same way we saw it with the Pro, the non-Plus model. We have a 120 watt charger here, which is different than the 67 watt charger that we saw with the original one. USB-C to USB-A cable, of course, we have a clear case as well as the device itself. There's going to be a few variations of the device himself. There's going to be a 6128, an 8128, and an 8256 gig capacity, and they're going to be starting up at about $369. You heard me correctly. We're talking about mid-range price and almost around the budget line of devices. Redmi is known for a very big bang for the buck type of an experience, and they're definitely not going to disappoint. This brick is going to be able to charge the 4500 milliampere battery that we have in here in about 15 minutes, as I'm showing you guys right now. I was actually charging it from around 60%, and I was able to get to 91% in literally about 3 to 4 minutes. And that's, again, we're going from the mid all the way to the high, where typically batteries do slow down. Now, as far as the technology that they're using here, again, this is the 120 watt. We've seen this from Xiaomi on other devices. This is technically flagship level experience when it comes down to charging. It's capable of charging it from 0 to 100 in about 15 minutes, and it's using a dual pump technology to improve the current flow into the actual unit and allow it not to overheat. So it's not just about speed, but it's also about battery life and of course battery health from Xiaomi in the extended amount of time. Now, even though it's a 4500 milliampere, not a 5000 milliampere battery, you can definitely bet your bottom dollar that you're going to be able to charge this up in faster than any other battery on the market. And again, 120 watt is crazy fast. And as far as the camera stacks that we have on the back, it's very similar to what we've seen before. We have the 108 megapixel sensor on the back with an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Now, last weekend I took this device with me over with the family to the Huntington Library here in Pasadena, California. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys some great pictures from there. But overall, aesthetics, very similar. We have the power button on the right side. That's also going to be the fingerprint sensor, a volume rocker that's also present on the side at that point. On the top, we still have a stereo speaker implementation, although the ports have been misplaced or moved a little bit. Also, one thing you'll notice is that the bump on the camera on the back is not as pronounced as what we saw with the 11 Pro 5G. A headphone jack still present there, IR blaster, and of course an additional microphone for the audio. This one now is actually having an audio tuning done by JBL. So you notice right there, sound by JBL. So the tuning is also done by JBL. And we also have Dolby Atmos configuration built into this device. On the left side, we have a clean slate. On the bottom, we have a port here for the dual SIM or SD card support. So you're able to expand the storage on top of the fact that we have basically two different storage capacity, 128 to 256 and 6 all the way to 8 gigabytes of RAM. And of course, the secondary speaker for that sound that we have, of course, Dolby system as well as audio by JBL. Now, as far as the display, we're looking at a 6.7-inch AMOLED display, and this one is a 1080p resolution, 120 Hz refresh rate. As far as software configuration, we're looking at the MIUI 12.5.2 Stable Edition. This is the global ROM. Android 11 is going to be powering this with the security patch update of January 1st, 2022. The 128 storage capacity here is the one I have. Again, Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G. And my edition does have 8 gigabytes of RAM, although there is an edition that's going to be, again, with 6 gigs. Again, starting price is $369. We have all of the same customization, same features that we've seen before. We can log in with our Mi account, Google Play services. All of that is built in. One thing to mention as far as specification, I'm sure you guys were interested. The Dimensity 920 is technically a more powerful SoC than the Helio G96 that we saw on an earlier version with the 11S, or even the 695 Snapdragon model that we've seen. A single core 737, multi-core is going to be 2194. So just kind of a small configuration there that you get to see there. Overall, as far as the camera, we have very much similar modes that we've seen in the past. We have an ultra-wide, a standard. The telephoto is technically a digital crop based on top of the main sensor. So just to keep them, we have AI mode, we have video, of course, as I mentioned to you guys. 4K 30 frames per second is going to be the best resolution we can get on the back. And of course, if we flip it to the front-facing camera, it's going to be 1080p 60 frames per second as the best. So 1080p 60, 4K 30 on the back. We have Pro mode, Photo mode, Portrait mode, and of course we have Night mode, 108 megapixel mode for the full sensor, short video, vlog, document, panorama, slow motion, time lapse, long exposure, of course, since we actually have a much better processor here. But let's not waste any time. Let me take you real quick and give you a sample on the front-facing camera and the back-facing sensor on the brand new Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G. This is literally the best Redmi Note 11 that we're going to see in this year. Of course, a massive sensor on the back, 108 megapixel, a very fast processor as well as the fact that we have now 120 watt charging on this. But of course, the main camera on the back is going to give us something nice, and we're going to be able to go all the way to 4K 30 frames per second. So let's go ahead and switch over there. This is a sample from the front-facing camera as well as the audio experience on this device. Now we're using the main sensor on the back, 108 megapixel, capable of giving us 4K 30 frames per second. Of course, the MediaTek Dimensity 920 that we have in here is definitely providing us this experience. The main sensor is going to be the best experience if you're going to shoot video, you want to be able to take pictures. My recommendation is to live with the 108 megapixel sensor on this device. Now, as you saw there, 4K is definitely a welcome addition to the Redmi Note line devices. I would have wished to have it with obviously more than one sensor, but right now the primary sensor in the back, as well as the technically digital crop that we have, will give us the ability of using the basically the 4K 30 resolution. The next thing we're going to talk about obviously is audio. So one thing I mentioned to you guys at the beginning is that we have Dolby Atmos configuration. So under a sound and vibration, if you jump all the way down to the bottom, we have sound effects. Now this gives us the ability of actually configuring the audio to go with the Dolby Atmos configuration, dynamic, music, video, or voice. And of course, we also have the hi-fi audio when we're using a headphone jack. So that's one of the other options. Again, we still have a headphone jack on a device like this that actually has great audio. Now for this one, we're going to be doing a quick speaker test. This is Alex Scrindo Jumbo by NCS Release. As usual, I go 100% on the volume. And this is just going to give you guys a quick example of what happens if you, let's say, you want to use it to listen to music, be on conference call and so on. What's the true power of the speakers? Both speakers are facing sideways, meaning they're facing away. So the best configuration is when we're using it in both hands. But let's go ahead and start up the track.
Jack it up.
Definitely sounds really nice, very loud. The bass is pronounced, but it's not too tinny, and it doesn't sound like it's actually breaking up the audio. So you're definitely going to be able to enjoy content consumption out of this, either watching video, phone calls, or anything that requires you using the external speakers. And for gaming, definitely use the headphone jack on the inside, because this is going to give you the best experience when it comes to low latency and high fidelity audio. Now, one thing we'll mention as I'm loading PUBG right now, I'm going to go ahead and launch the game launcher on the side. This is Game Turbo that gives us the ability of configuring the game system here. Now, by default, you have different options to be able to turn on, either balance mode or performance mode. Performance mode obviously will give you the best performance, although I will say that it will technically drain the battery a little bit more. Balance mode is what I like to typically leave it there. And of course, we have Wi-Fi connectivity configuration, of course, brightness settings, screen capture as well, turn off screen, casting, do not disturb, screenshot and screen recording, as well as the battery level. And of course, we have video and voice changer, as well as a timer. And the last but not least is the ability of actually using the side launcher while you're waiting for games. One thing I definitely always don't like about playing, let's say PUBG, is the fact that the lobby takes about a minute or so for it to start. So either from the moment I say start till the point I'm actually able to play, that actually typically goes for about a minute and a half. And I either want to get out of the game or I can come back to it. Or we can actually now do this, where we're able to launch things and run things separately, and it basically runs as a little bit of a floating window. So you'll notice right there, this is the gallery itself. Let's go ahead and swipe back. As you can see there, I'm able to swipe back, and there's a little bit of a screen recording, and here there's a picture that I took, and we're going to get a chance to check it out obviously here. So, but let's not waste any time. Let me go ahead and share with you guys the experience of playing games on the brand new Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G, and let's dive into some PUBG. Now you may be wondering, why is Redmi releasing another phone? The reality of the matter is this is actually a very different version of the Redmi Note 11 line of devices, because the features that we get here are literally top of the line, things that we typically see in their high-end devices. I'm talking the Xiaomi 12 Pro, so something like about like 120 watt charging on a Redmi that's around $369. You have to kind of factor that experience in there. The battery itself is actually decent size considering the fact it's a 1080p panel. Now, if you're using it at 120 hertz, you're definitely going to be draining it faster, but keep in mind you can also recharge it at an even faster pace. I don't think you can drain the battery on this device in less than 15 minutes, but you can get it back from 0 to 100% in that much time, which means topping it off most of the time, it's not going to put any issues for you there. And of course, we have definitely some technology as well as software built in here to be able to provide us better battery health and extended battery life on these devices. Now let's talk a little bit about the cameras and the pictures. Now, I took it with me to the Huntington Library over the weekend, and I'm sharing with you guys some pictures and videos of my experience over the weekend. There's definitely a lot of potential in here, a lot of modes, a lot of functionalities that you're able to use this. And of course, being at a place like the Huntington with the Chinese gardens as well as the Japanese gardens, you're able to actually enjoy the different creative capabilities that you're able to pull from there. So at the end of the day, there's definitely not going to be a disappointing experience here. I will say though, 4K 30 is going to be, well, actually, I'll say this. The 108 megapixel camera sensor on this device is going to be the best sensor on this device. That's going to be the one that you should probably be living with. Take your selfies, take your portraits, take everything with that, and I think that experience will definitely be nice. The large display that we have in here, the 6.67-inch display, beautiful AMOLED display. You can watch content with it. The speakers are very loud, very pronounced, good bass on them. We have great audio with the headphone jack. And we also have the ability of actually just gaming and doing a whole bunch of different things with this. At the end of the day, I probably will say one thing that maybe I would have wished is maybe having a little bit more functionality on the front-facing camera, maybe higher resolution. But at the end of the day, realistically, there's a lot to be said about this device. The price makes it a very good bang for the buck experience, and I feel like Xiaomi and Redmi are definitely putting out another hit on their hand for 2022. So this is going to be available very soon. I'll give you guys some links in the description below. Let me know what you guys think of the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G. I realize that we have quite a few Note 11s at this point, but this one takes the cake. This is TK. Thank you very much to Xiaomi for allowing me to be able to check out the Redmi Note 11 and of course sharing with you guys my experience. I'll see you in the next one.